For the research assignment, I decided to look at Section 4 of the Ontario Leadership Framework. I wanted to learn more about the characteristics of a successful school system because my district is making big changes right now. I decided to use my Explain Everything app to create this podcast. During this podcast, we'll go through the district effectiveness framework and how it relates to a successful school system. But what is the district effectiveness framework? The DEF describes features of a school system which make positive contributions to growth in student learning and well-being. The DEF has 4 domains of school system characteristics that help with these improvements. 1. Core processes. 2. Supporting conditions. 3. Approaches to leadership development. And 4. Relationships. After looking at each of these domains, you find out that there are 2 to 4 subcharacteristics in each of them. On the next slides, we're going to explore them. First, let's talk about core processes. Core processes are characteristics that most directly affect the quality of teaching and learning. The first subcharacteristic includes the district's mission, vision, and goals. High-performing school districts have widely shared set of beliefs that are upheld by students and staff and include a focus on raising the achievement bar. This is a big focus at my school this year because we have become a Leader in Me school, and the school and each classroom has to have their own mission statement with a vision for student achievement and leadership. The second characteristic included in core processes is curriculum and instruction. With this characteristic, the school system supports efforts to implement curriculum that fosters deep understanding of big ideas. Everyone needs to work together to provide engaging instruction, and the district assists teachers in developing powerful instruction for students. I feel like this is something that most districts and schools are continually looking at every single year to improve on. The last characteristic in this category is uses of evidence. High-performing school systems have effective and efficient information management systems. They provide schools with data and evidence, and they help schools use evidence to drive instruction and to inform their stakeholders. I know that with the Common Core push, many districts are focusing on evidence and collecting data to inform their instruction. It can be very overwhelming if your school district isn't helping you out in the correct ways. After looking in depth at this first category, I know that my district is working really hard in these areas all the time, and I assume that most districts are too. The second domain includes supporting conditions. Here, school systems must allocate significant resources and focus important processes to a small number of goals at a time. I often feel like we're being pulled in too many different directions and we are focusing on too many goals to make positive impacts. The first subcharacteristic is professional development. For professional development to make a positive impact, time in meetings needs to be devoted to professional learning. PD should be carefully aligned with system-wide and school-wide improvement initiatives, and schools should be provided time for collaboration. In my district, we often feel like we aren't given enough time as a school to collaborate. It would also be nice to meet district-wide and grade-level meetings to see what other schools are working on. The second subcharacteristic is organizational improvement processes. Here, a small number of key goals are set. Improvement efforts are guided by explicit and well-tested frameworks, policies, and practices. Considerable effort is made by school staff to build up areas for successful improvement. I feel like this area is the hardest for my school because we have such a small staff. Because we're so small, if everyone doesn't put in the same amount of effort, it falls on 1 or 2 people to make the improvement, and it just doesn't work. The last characteristic in supporting conditions is alignment. Here, a systematic and ongoing process should be in place to continuously align budget, procedures with goals for students, and staff instructional improvement work. Time and money should be allocated for professional development of leaders, teachers, and support staff. Now let's look at the third domain, which includes approaches to leadership development. Here, effective leadership at school and system levels needs to be instructionally sophisticated. The first subcharacteristic includes professional leadership development. School systems need to define and carefully implement procedures for identifying school-level leaders. The most skilled leaders then are assigned to schools that need the most improvement. Consideration should be taken before moving anyone in leadership, because moves in leadership should not harm efforts that are currently underway in schools. The district must keep staff focused on learning to support principals and teachers in their efforts to improve instruction. My district has been known to move principals with no warning. I have personally gone through this, and it has affected our school immensely. The second subcharacteristic is development of elected leaders. Here, the Board of Trustees participates with senior staff to help create a climate that engages teachers, administrators, parents, and community. They should focus policy making on improvement of student learning. They should also support staff decisions aimed at providing rich curriculum and instruction. Finally, they should develop productive working relationships and also hold the director and individual members accountable. The final domain in the characteristics of successful school systems includes relationships. Evidence indicates that in a successful school system, central office roles are interconnected. Work is undertaken collaboratively and in the service of a widely shared set of purposes. The first subcharacteristic in this category is internal systems and school relationships. Here, a school system's performance is enhanced when school staffs often participate in system decisions and are in frequent contact with the central offices. Also, networks and professional learning communities are well established at school system levels. In my district, teachers don't communicate much with the central office. That's mostly the principal's job. I feel like the open communication could really make for a positive relationship within the district. The second subcharacteristic is relationships with local community groups. Here, community groups are routinely recognized for contributions and support. They are consulted on all decisions affecting the community. For it to be highly effective, school staff are often members of the community themselves. Relationships are carefully nurtured as a means of building community support for public education. Today, I feel like many of the teachers in my district do not live within the community. Because of this, many don't see the need for connecting with the community. However, I have grown up within this district and continue to live in the community, and I see a huge push for the connection between the schools and the community. Continuing on with relationships, the next subcharacteristic includes relationships with parents. High performance is likely if school staff is provided with helpful opportunities to engage parents and help parents create positive learning conditions at home. Having a policy on parent engagement that is monitored is critical. Because of the influx of charter schools, my district has a huge focus on relationships with parents. Within my own classroom, I know that the relationships I've made with families have made a huge impact. The next subcharacteristic includes relationships with Ministry of Education. For us, that would be the connection with the Michigan Department of Education. High performance is nurtured when school systems communicate regularly with the ministry formally and informally. They communicate how the ministry can be helpful and supplement government initiatives when necessary. I don't think that public schools have a great connection with the Michigan Department of Education right now, and it could help to improve our schools if we could have open communication. The last subcharacteristic includes relationships with teacher federations or unions. School systems are most successful when relationships with unions include the same vision for student learning. Everyone should work together to build trusting relationships. The unions should keep members in district informed. The examination of labor contracts that support school improvement and increase student learning is key. I wish our policymakers understood this better. After hearing about the 4 domains of school systems and the characteristics associated with the improvements in student learning and well-being, do you think that your district is on par with the Ontario Leadership Framework? I hope that we can have a conversation about where our districts are at and what changes need to be made. I hope this podcast helped you learn more about the Ontario Leadership Framework and about the characteristics of successful school systems. Thanks for listening.